You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.FM network. Hi everybody, this is Luca Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom on K-Talks 1340 AM and on United States.FM network. Now, I really want to use this show as long as I have it because, you never know what's going to happen today. The FCC with the radio station being bought by other companies and internet censorship, who knows? I want to use this as an opportunity to pretty much send a message to humanity and a message, of course, to the American people that we are under attack by globalist forces and how they can create this new globalist utopia that's pretty much going to be like 1984 on steroids, where all our individual rights, they're going to be pretty much denied, gone. Simply, they will start, if they're smart, because I think they have a very long plan, not just doing it through implementation that already they're doing it, with force and regulations and constitutional agencies. Of course, they will try every way they can, but the most powerful way, they will pretty much destroy our republic here in America, especially, and completely destroy our rights, or at least try that, when they will be able to brainwash the next generation. That's why I'm so passionate when it comes down especially to expose the plan of these globalists when they try to infiltrate like rats, like sneaky rats. That's what they are in the education system. And this is not just something happened today with the Common Core. It's been a long plan. Okay, for sure, since the creation of the Department of Education, pretty much I call it the Department of Re-Education. We know that the federal government is being pretty much dictating many parameters and curriculums to the different states and the different local schools, and that's bad enough. But the problem is, who is really behind the federal government? That's the problem. Now, I have with me a guest that I really respect a lot because he's a young man and is so educated about this matter of global government and also about freedom, because that's the bottom line. When people say, hey, what's wrong with you to be a citizen of the world? I would say nothing if, first of all, we would have a chance to vote for it, to decide. But more important, when I would like to say that I don't need to give up my rights, because when you become a global citizen, just to let you know out there, for people that think it's so cool, guess what? You're not going to have any more individual rights, because the only place where you have individual God-given rights, and if you don't believe in God, that's fine, just put it like individual unalienable rights, it is in America. In our Bill of Rights, in our Constitution, more important, the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence. Nobody in the world. Go to read the United Nations Declaration of Rights. It's pretty much a joke, because every right they give you, they can get it back. So it's pretty much a privilege. So if you want to become a global slave, help yourself, but leave us alone. And that's why I'm here, because I want to fight this globalist with information. And I want to bring with me my guest. It's a great guy. His name is Alex Newman. And also is a writer for the New American magazine by the John Birch Society. And he wrote this incredible book that, I want to be honest, I didn't read it yet, but I like the topic. And then, of course, I'm going to read it pretty soon. But meanwhile, I have Alex with me, and the book is called Crimes of the Educators. Alex, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you so much for having me again, Luca.
I hope I didn't rant too much, because when I start, I'm kind of hard to stop. All right.
The same way, no worries.
Lisa, last time I had you on the show, it was very great experience, because you gave a lot of great information, facts about the danger of global government, called also New World Order, that now, of course, is becoming mainstream. 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, people used to laugh. Now it's becoming more and more mainstream. Now, you wrote this book with another author, Samuel Blumenfeld. How do you say that?
Yeah, it's Dr. Samuel Blumenfeld.
Perfect. And tell me a little bit about, first of all, what is this book about? What is the topic of this book? It's about education, but give us some generic information, the content of the book.
Sure. Basically, what we tried to do was we started with John Dewey, and this problem goes back before John Dewey, but we started with John Dewey because he was critical in the establishment of the government education system we have today. He laid out a plan in 1898 for how to dumb down America's children to turn America from a constitutional republic into a socialist collectivist utopia.
Wow.
And he openly admitted that this was what he was doing. So we start with John Dewey, and then we go all through the last 100 years showing how bad education has gotten. I should mention also, we spend a lot of time in the book talking about probably the biggest crime that John Dewey committed, and that is reducing the literacy of the American people. He knew that as long as the American people could read, and they could read their Bibles and their constitutions and their Declaration of Independence, it would be impossible for America to become communist. So he came up with this plan to teach children to read English as if it were Chinese. It's called the look-say, the whole word, the sight method of learning how to read. And this doesn't work. This is quackery. We have a phonetic alphabet, and so, of course, you need to learn phonetically how to read and write English. And so he said, no, we'll use this whole word method where the kids memorize what the word looks like as if it was a Chinese symbol, and then they're supposed to associate that word with an idea or a concept or whatever the case may be. And so this is absolute quackery, and John Dewey knew it was quackery. There had been experiments with it in the 1830s and 1840s, and it was such a failure that it was completely abolished all over the place. It was a joke until John Dewey came along and said, this is how we need to teach children to read so we can dumb them down.
Okay. Excuse me, Alex, before I go ahead, because, I don't want to assume that people know everything, and sometimes I don't know everything myself. Of course, John Dewey was a guy who was working for the government. I mean, who was exactly? Because I understand was a very important planner for what's supposed to be our education. Was a private citizen or was a public servant?
He was technically a private citizen. He had backing from the Rockefeller Foundation, the General Education Board. It was a Rockefeller philanthropy, and he started his career at the University of Chicago. This is where he headed up some departments there in education and psychology, and from there he got his launching pad. He assembled his cohorts to implement this plan, and then he moved to Teachers College at Columbia University, the same place where Obama's terrorist friend Bill Ayers was educated.
Right.
And so he got millions of dollars from the Rockefellers to promote this absolute quackery in terms of education methods and introducing behavioral psychology into the schools, teaching children to read the wrong way, treating them as if they're animals to be molded, kind of like Pavlov did. And he actually went to the Soviet Union to study their education system. Mm-hmm. And he came back and he thought that was wonderful, producing lots of little collectivists using the government school system, just like Karl Marx wanted. He wanted, the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto. One of the most important is government education for all the children. So Dewey thought this was an excellent plan, and he wrote openly about that America should be a socialist, communist utopia. He was one of the original signers of the Humanist Manifesto, which, of course, is communistic. It rejects private property. It rejects religion. It rejects truth. It rejects God. The very first point in the Humanist Manifesto is we believe the universe is self-existing and it was not created by a God. The very first words of the Bible are, in the beginning, God created. So it's basically the opposite of the principles that the United States was founded on: individual liberty, biblical values, etc. And he admitted he wanted to move us in this direction. He thought that it was going to be nice if everybody worked for the good of the collective and the common good, all the buzzwords that all the dictators in history have used. And so what he did with his cohorts, there was many of them, they started taking over the teachers' colleges because they wanted to educate the next generation.
Let me stop you. Alex, let me stop you 1 second. There is some sort of, interferences, but I want to interact 1 second. First of all, you mentioned something very important, that people that will start to understand who is behind, because this person, he didn't have just all the resources to do all this evil doing just because he could. He was behind him, he had John D. Rockefeller, one of the Rockefeller's family, that is pretty much one of the architects of the last century of this global government. So much that people must understand there is a phrase that John D. Rockefeller said, and it's official: I want a nation of workers, not thinkers. This is directly from Rockefeller. And the foundation of the Rockefeller were pretty much designed to teach to the teachers. So they were creating a new class of teachers molded on these new principles. So they didn't want any more free thinkers like we used to have, but they want people, little students, they're like little slaves, that all they need to do, they're going to work and shut up. That's pretty much the idea. Am I right or wrong?
Oh, you're absolutely right, Luca. That's exactly what they wanted. And the reason they wanted to destroy the literacy is because they knew that when people can read, then they can acquire knowledge independently. So they don't have to rely on the lying media. They don't have to rely on the teachers in the government schools to get information. Once they can read their own history books, they can read science books, they can read the Bible, the Constitution, the Declaration of Independence, all the classic literature, and so then they have access to infinite amounts of information, all of the accumulated knowledge of mankind throughout history. And so John Dewey wanted to destroy that for a very specific purpose, and that was to create just what you described, young, illiterate worker slaves who would be susceptible to giving up their freedom, giving up their nation, and becoming slaves in a communist utopia. And he actually gave us the specific example of the kind of communist utopia he wanted in the United States. Mm-hmm. It was a novel published in 1888 by Edward Bellamy called Looking Backward. Now, today, almost nobody has heard of this novel. Wow. But back then, 100 years ago, it was one of the most influential novels ever. It was hugely powerful, and it outlined a utopian future of America in the year 2000, where there was no more freedom, no more private property. Everything was for the good of the collective and the good of the whole and the common good. And this is exactly what John Dewey wanted to move us toward, and he said he wanted to move us toward this. So, with the help from the Rockefellers, they started taking over the education system, and obviously they've succeeded today. We have all the hard data. I mean, the federal government did a literacy survey in 1993, and they said 55% of American adults can barely read. And so, obviously, we have a major problem. When the United States was founded, everybody could read. John Adams said that a person in America who can't read is as rare as an earthquake or a comet. And we didn't have government schools back then. Yeah. People just needed to learn how to read because they needed to read their Bibles, and this was just understood by everyone, and everyone could read. They learned at home, they learned with a minister or a reverend, and John Dewey wanted to destroy that. So we start really with John Dewey, and we expose this quack education methodology that he uses, especially the whole word method, which now we know from brain scans causes actual physical damage in the brain. When you teach a child to read like this, they're never going to be able to read properly for their whole lives unless they get remedial attention and learn how to read properly and untrain themselves with this ridiculous method that Dewey and his co-conspirators promoted. So we start there, we bring it all the way up to Common Core, and then we show where the globalists are going with this. They want to create a global education regime under UNESCO with global standards for the whole world, and the criminals who are operating here in the United States in the education system are 100% supportive of this. Bill Gates, who financed Common Core with billions of dollars of his own money, he signed an agreement with UNESCO in 2004 to develop a global master curriculums and education technology and all kinds of stuff like this. And UNESCO already has a world core curriculum that they want to use for everybody on the planet, and it was developed by a globalist, Robert Mueller, at the United Nations, and he was a disciple of Alice Bailey, who's, of course, the founder of the Lucifer Publishing Company, a very strange woman who had said that spirits would come into her, and then she would write these very bizarre books about education in the New Age, and we need to eradicate Christianity, and so forth and so on. And so basically that's a quick summary of the information we have in our book.
Okay, Alex, perfect. You gave a lot of good information here. I mean, now it's kind of interesting because I always try to reach out people that they're still laughing at us. I'm not really into convincing anybody at this point. If people can get it, I mean, it's almost I give up, but not really. I don't want to give up because we need everybody, because this is what's happening right now. It is something that is not something cute, and maybe you don't like I say, maybe many people say, I'm not Christian, I don't care. Guess what? It's not about Christianity. This is about freedom. I don't care in what religion you believe, I don't care in what type of state of mind you are, but unless you want to become a little serf of one of these David Rockefeller's bodies out there, I don't think even the people that they profess themselves to be on the left side, they don't understand that we are pretty much going all under the same bondage. This is not about left or right. It's about we're all going to be enslaved. Now, people like to, sometimes look at themselves like colors or political spectrum, left or right. It's all an illusion, guys, because at the end of the day, if you think that this common core is something that just because Obama was pushing it, it's great, guess what? This is not about Obama. This isn't about even anybody in politics. They are behind international corporations and bankers and, wealthy people. Like, I'm not talking about the middle class or above middle class guy. I'm talking about the trillionaires, people like Bill Gates, that they are pretty much just the face of what we can see. And they have an agenda. The agenda that pretty much 99.999% of us, we're all a bunch of cattle. And they are pretty much the masters. So that's the bottom line, guys. I want to reach out everybody out there that normally would say, yeah, I like Common Core. Yeah, I like because Obama is doing it. Guess what? This is slavery, guys, for our children and for us too. So that's why I would like also to remind everybody there is an individual, Mr. Vladimir Lenin, one of these tyrants coming from Russia. We had it from different parts of the world. Now we have them also, of course, in America. And Obama is not the first one, but of course is the most evident out there. But Vladimir Lenin said, give me your 4 years to teach the children, and the seed I sown will be uprooted. That's the bottom line, guys. How many years already you think you gave your children to the federal government education system? More than 4. And I'm telling you, did it happen just today with Obama? Let's start to think about also Bush with this No Child Left Behind. I mean, what do you think about that? Because I like to be fair. It's not just about Common Core. Common Core is the consequence of many other factors. How do you see this No Child Left Behind by Bush administration?
Yeah, you're exactly right, Luca, and we spend quite a bit of time in the book explaining how we got to Common Core. It didn't start with Obama. It's not going to end with Obama. This isn't Obama's initiative. This is something that's been pushed down from the globalists, from the upper levels of the elite, to just do exactly what you said, enslave the rest of humanity in this kind of neo-feudalist, authoritarian global system. They call it the New World Order, which isn't especially descriptive of a term, but that's the word they use, so we can use it, the New World Order. And that's what they're pushing for. That's what all of this is about. And you're absolutely right that Bush's No Child Left Behind Act, which was, of course, written by Marxist lunatic Ted Kennedy, this was crucial in setting the stage for the emergence of Common Core, because what No Child Left Behind did was it said to the states, if you want federal funding, and of course all the states want federal funding because they just prostrate themselves to Washington, D.C. whenever federal funding is involved, they say if you want federal funding, you have to develop standards and tests for all the students, and then that's how the federal government is going to measure that your students are making progress and so on. So because of these mandates under No Child Left Behind, it was pretty easy to bring in Common Core. You already had federally mandated tests. You already had federally mandated standards. So then it was just to harmonize them all with Common Core, and that's where we are today. Now, Common Core, of course, is part of an international agenda, and they've been telling us this. Arne Duncan, Obama's education secretary, he gave a speech to UNESCO, and he said the UNESCO is his global partner in education reform, the cradle to career education reform agenda. And he says he's going to use education as a weapon to change the world, quoting a communist terrorist. He said he's going to turn the children into green global citizens using the government schools. And so this is the situation that we're in right now. And we have UNESCO, of course, is led currently by a communist.
Yes.
Irina Bokova, and I don't just say that as a figure of speech or hyperbole. She is an actual communist from Bulgaria. Her father was the chief propagandist for the communist Bulgarian regime that was persecuting and torturing and murdering dissidents and Christians. And Irina, the head of UNESCO, was a member of this Communist Party when she was in her younger years, and she was a member in her adulthood. Then they changed the name to the Bulgarian Socialist Party. It's still the same party with the same criminals, and she's still a part of it. And so we have communists and terrorists and Marxists and lunatics running this supposed global education system. And they just put out a report a few weeks ago, UNESCO, saying, oh, how wonderful. Now we have, when we started our Education for All initiative, we had only 3 countries with national education standards and national tests. Now we have more than 100. And so they're very openly working toward a global education regime that's going to dumb down children all over the world. And we have the documents proving it in our book. You can go right onto UNESCO's webpage and read these documents for yourself. And they actually tell you that they're going to dumb down the children. I mean, for example, one of the quotes that I thought was most amazing, because it's right on the UNESCO's webpage, is that, we need to move towards sustainable development. Everything needs to be sustainable. And they tell you that people who have higher educations tend to have higher incomes, and higher incomes are not compatible with sustainable development. Therefore, more education is not compatible with sustainable development. So do you think they're going to be educating your children properly in these schools? Absolutely not. You can be sure that that's not what they're doing.
Yeah, and meanwhile, it's funny because just to make people understand that there are pretty much 2 classes here, okay? The elite, they don't send their kids to these public schools. I mean, look at the Obamas. You think they're going to eat that garbage that they feed now with the new Michelle diet, to keep pretty much your kids supposedly not being obese? they have completely different standard of education, of food, of environment. I mean, this is like almost going back to the Middle Ages, where you have the lords and the kings, having a different type of lifestyle, and then they tell us exactly what type of lifestyle we can have. That's the very sad thing, and it's sad anyway, because bottom line, nobody's going to tell me how I'm going to teach or what I'm going to teach to my children. Now, what I like about these books, I didn't read the book yet, but I tell you something. First of all, I give you 5 stars just for the concept, because this is vital. People out there, you're talking about, so what's going on now? We're talking about guns here. What's going on now? We're talking about education. Guess what? If you do not save the next generation, the guns is going to be useless anyway. And more important, you're not going to have any more Second Amendment when your children or your child is going to tell you pretty much that, wow, what is the Second Amendment? You don't need it. So guys, we must really understand that all our rights, our guns, our freedoms, they're going to disappear. We are just one generation away to pretty much have it let destroyed by this or stolen by this globalist. That's why for me this is the most important type of ammunition is knowledge, how to take back our school system starting right now, not tomorrow, not next year, not something that you cannot touch in Washington. Let's start right now in your school district. Start to go out there in numbers. Put it like as the first priority. Think when you go into the, I don't know, if you like to go football, watch football, whatever you want to go to watch, 50,000 people that can fill up that useless stadium that pretty much is just being built to keep you busy and distracted and stupid. You give me 5,000 people out of whatever, 200,000 people that we have maybe in Mojave County, even 500 people, and go to the school district meetings and start to see what these new educators or what these new supervisors or whatever they are, they're telling us what type of education we can have, what type of books they're going to push to your kids. Start to show that you're alive, that you care. Because if you don't care here, guess what? It's going to be over. So I want to give you 5 stars just for the book. And also, I think this is incredible. I like the idea that I'm looking right now here, Dr. Samuel Bloomfield is a man that of another generation. We're talking about almost like somebody that is, you're working together with him, and we have the new generation, and we have at least probably 2 generations ago. This guy is over 80, this doctor, and he's amazing. It's like almost is giving you like to you the opportunity to keep the fight going. And how did you meet this incredible man, Dr. Samuel? How did you meet him?
Dr. Samuel Blumenfeld really is an amazing guy. I mean, he has played such a big role in awakening the American people to the problems that we're facing with our education system. He's written 8 books already on education. He's written manuals that you can use to teach your own kids how to read very simply. I mean, I taught my own 4-year-old how to read using this in a matter of weeks. And so he is really something special. He's 88 now. And that was pretty much the idea behind our collaboration. We've written for a lot of the same publications. He writes for the New American and I do. He writes for WND and I do. And so we've been kind of connected that way for a long time. And then, we thought it would be a great partnership because I've been writing on education for 5 or 6 years now, focusing on what's going on now with the Common Core, with the UNESCO, with all of this stuff. And he's been in this battle for, 60 years. So he knows all of the stuff going back to John Dewey, going back to Horace Mann, the architect of the Prussian school system being brought here into the United States. And so together we thought we would make a good team, and that's how we ended up collaborating on this book.
Okay, Alex, before we go, I want to give the opportunity for the listeners, first of all, to find your book. I found it already on Amazon. Besides Amazon, any other way people can buy it? How they can purchase? You have a website or anything else like that?
Yeah, actually, you can get autographed copies from the WND Superstore. It's superstore.wnd.com, and then people can also order it from Amazon. Walmart has it online. Target has it online. Barnes & Noble has it online, and some bookstores around the country have it also, but the web is probably the easiest and cheapest place to get it right now.
I think, guys, this is so important, seriously, for the listeners out there. I really believe, if you want to preserve our freedoms, and this is not going to be said, I see already some selfish people say, I have no kids, I don't care. Guess what? You should care. Because first of all, even if you're selfish and you're just living here for yourself, you're not going to make it through. You're not going to be dead and thinking that you still live in freedom, because our freedom are already gone. every 5 years there is a new, every year there is a new generation of students that become citizens, and they can vote, and they can become part of our, leadership, okay, in the political system, in every type of system. And when you have these people that have been completely, unfortunately, brainwashed to pretty much to be part of the new agenda, this new globalist nightmare, socialist nightmare, that is not to give more to the people, by the way. That would be bad enough, to steal from somebody to give to the masses or to the majority. That's not the point. This is pretty much to steal from all of us so they can keep everything. And all you get is the crumble. I mean, why? For those little crumbles, you will pretty much sell your freedom. So anyway, that's all I'm saying, guys. Get this book. I really say that. And when you go on Amazon, please, if you read the book, give them a good ratings if you like it. It's important because I tell you, I know myself. I sell music on Amazon, and ratings, it's important. The feedback is important. I'm sure that the Rockefeller family and UNESCO do not like this book, and I'm pretty sure that as they start to get aware of this book, they may start to unleash the little trolls out there to try to denigrate this book. So we gotta fight back. This is not a show to just have fun and listen to the news and kick back. No, this is a show for people who care, and we gotta go back into the fight. Get a copy of this book instead of wasting at the bar the money or something else. Do have also that if you want, but you can get a beautiful $15 for the soft cover, or $20, whatever. You can find deals around. Get a copy and start to read it. Share it with your wife. Share it with your teachers or the teachers of your kids. And more important than, start to spread it out, because we need to reach critical mass in understanding these facts, so we can start to go even in our local meetings, in our state legislators meetings, when we go to meet our state reps, or more important, even to our state useless legislators. But sometimes they're good. We must give them a chance, and we gotta fight at every level. That's the only hope we have. Alex, I salute you. Thank you very much, my friend. And it's been an honor to have a copy of your book, and I will read and I'll do my part. As I read this book, I will give a beautiful review on Amazon, and I'll pass it around.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Luca, for the opportunity to come on the show and share this information. And thank you so much for just giving us the chance to spread this out there. Because you're exactly right. If we don't do something about this problem, everything else is a moot point. If they get the minds of the younger generation, there's no going back. No amount of constitutions and guns, nothing is going to stop the problem. And they understand that, and we need to understand that if we're going to have any hope of keeping our freedom and our republic.
This is today a broadcasting that was pretty much happening here in 2015, okay? We're in May of 2015. If anybody in the future, like a message in the bottle, will listen to this broadcasting, if my YouTube channel is still out there, it wasn't pretty much, obscure or whatever, we tried. And I want to have all of you guys, listeners, that you try your best. We're not gonna go down without a fight against these bastards of the New World Order. That's my promise to you, Alex.
Amen, Luca.
Thank you, my friend. Okay, guys, you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. This, for me, was the most important information for now because, as I said, information, we must be educated. We must have facts. And we must fight back with information. Now, of course, we're going to talk a little bit about some other stuff. The show is about guns, and we'll talk about guns too. So it's all about the same thing. We all talk about freedom. Don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman,
I'm not afraid,
and a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid,
Italian by birth,
I'm not afraid,
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Luca Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns,